Good evening and welcome to the July 21st, 2022 meeting of the Grafton, Mass. Accessibility Advisory Commission. That is a nice ring to it. I'm Roger Trahan, Chair of the Commission, and I call this meeting to order. As a preliminary matter, please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. And I know you're all here, but I need to go through the motions. Christy Proctor.
Here.
Bob Berger.
Bob Berger's here.
Laura Deneen.
Laura Deneen here.
Rob Paulsonelli.
Rob Paulsonelli's here.
And as self-evident, Trahan is here, and I don't have anyone else present. And as far as the remote meeting guidelines, I don't see any members of the public present. We're all familiar with them, so I don't find any need to repeat those. So moving on to the first agenda item, announcements, commission name change and amended charge. Yes, we are now the Accessibility Advisory Commission as of the 12th of July Select Board meeting, which I had teed off the discussion and passed it on to Christy Proctor and Rob Paulsonelli, who did an awesome job outlining the work of their subcommittee. And it was just a real good, session. And it was well received by the Select Board, who really appreciated the work that went into this, that, you know, we were a very actively engaged committee, and as partly evidenced by the work we're doing here to really pay attention to our charge. So any comments, Christy or Rob or anyone else on that?
Good job all around.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm psyched.
Big team effort.
Yeah, it was.
It was great.
Yep.
It was great. Thank you folks for doing all that work. And now I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So what I need to do is follow up on, and it may just be sending town hall the Word document, unless someone is willing to type everything, so they can transfer the words onto our webpage. Okay. And then rename wherever in the large script, Accessibility Advisory Commission. I'm not sure how that then gets cross-referenced, because sometimes people will be looking for it, and if they don't find it, they wouldn't necessarily know to go to the letter A for accessibility. So that will be some, I think, administrative mechanics that I don't think require our vote as a committee. What we need to do is a couple of things. Vote to dissolve the subcommittee of Christy and Rob. So I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, so moved by Rob. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, Christy.
Aye.
Bob Berger.
Aye.
Laura Deneen.
Laura Deneen, aye.
Rob Paulsonelli.
Aye.
Trahan, I declare the motion carried. And if you could hold on one second, I will promote Jen Anderson to panelist. How are you, Jen? Hello, Jen.
Hi there.
Hello. We're not at your part yet, but we will be there in short order. So
That's fine. That's gonna squeeze in dinner before, so I'm just listening.
okay. All right. Hold on one second. All right. So one of the things that we could do, and I put it on the agenda, is vote to recommend the name change for our commission's group email address. Right now it's disabilitycommission@grafton-ma.gov. I think it is unnecessary and too long to have our whole name in there. And I had thought of maybe accessibility@grafton-ma.gov. Seems to be brief enough and wouldn't be confused with anything else. If anyone has any input, I guess I'll take a motion for that would include me then drafting a letter to, I guess it's Select Board Town Administrator, one or the other, and then copy the other, to I guess, do a couple of things. Change the name to accessibility at grafton-ma.gov and do whatever is needed to have the old email flow into the new email address. I guess, I don't know what the term is called, but there's a technical term for that. So I will entertain a motion. Do I have a motion for accessibility at grafton-ma.gov?
Yeah, so
All
yeah,
right,
Good.
okay. There's a motion. Was that a second, Laura?
yes.
Okay.
Right.
And all right.
Rob, did you?
I did.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, just making sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Rob made the motion, Laura seconded. So, yeah, I guess I'll just mention that. Who would that go to, though? Would that be?
I think he's into Devon, my 2
Yeah.
cents. And then I'm sure he doesn't do it, but he'll know where it needs to go next.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So it's accessibility at grafton-ma.gov.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any discussion other than that? All right, by roll call, all those in favor, Christie,
Aye.
Bob Berger,
I think you need a discussion.
okay. All right, then,
Yeah, because I didn't follow the address. So say the address again. slower.
accessibility at
Yep.
grafton-ma.gov. Right now, it's Disability Commission at grafton-ma.gov. It would simply be accessibility at grafton-ma.gov.
Yeah, dash.
Yeah. Rather than
No,
accessibility.
that's not right. That's not the right email address. Isn't it? My email address is burgerr@grafton-ma.
Yeah, dash and hyphen are the same thing.
Right, but you said you had the hyphen at the beginning of Grafton. It has to be at the end of Grafton.
I meant, all right, accessibility at
Grafton. Yep.
grafton-ma.gov.
Right, okay, that's
right.
the right email address.
Yeah, I apologize if I misspoke. So it's accessibility at grafton-ma.gov.
Yeah, okay. Aye.
All
Aye.
right. And Laura Deneen,
Laura Deneen, aye.
Rob Paulsonelli,
Aye.
Trahan, I declare the motion carried 5-0. And I will use my trusty blue marker. That's my to-do color. All right. All right, announcements, commission vacancy for a term through June 30th, 2025. By the way, I did send Darrell Reining that letter of thanks on behalf of the commission pursuant to last month's vote. So the deadline for that application is Tuesday, June 26th. And it would be to the address, there are a few addresses, but the easiest one through email is taoffice@grafton-ma.gov. And so that would be by the end of business Tuesday, July 26th, which happens to be the 32nd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it's my understanding that one person has already applied. Don't know who that is. And that was about a week ago. I spoke with, I will not mention the name in case this individual does not apply, but I had a great discussion last night with someone who's just eminently qualified and is an awesome human being as well. So hoping that person will also apply. So I don't think there will be a shortage of good qualified applicants. And so I look forward to seeing who steps up and the nature of that discussion. So next item, Disability Pride Month is July 2022 this month. And I know, Christy, you had mentioned it during the select board meeting when we came before them last week. So if you could just touch upon that.
So Disability Pride Month began with the first Disability Pride Parade in Boston back in 1990. So we started it. There's several other cities, but not nationwide, that celebrate Disability Pride with Disability Pride parades. And then we also celebrate, of course, the 32nd anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And back in 2019, an individual did create a disability pride flag. Of course, that flag has some controversy about it because of the design, which could be offensive to people with seizure disorders. In that there's always something,
Right.
not to harken back to the carpet from the library. But anyways, and the important thing is that people are honored and accepted and identifying with their disability, and it's acknowledged instead as a thing to pity or be sympathetic about. Instead, there's pride about it, that people are competent and are very open about sharing their disability information or personal information or their stories about disability. And it's viewed as a way to be proud and celebrate.
Great. Thank you, Christy. And all right, Mass Office on Disability, it's back that time of year again. The municipal ADA grant program for fiscal year 2023, and the grants, the application process runs from August 1 through September 30th. So there's 2 full months, August and September is the application period. And whether it's a planning grant or a construction grant, the maximum for any one grant is $250,000. I think those larger amounts are hard to come by since the pool of money that they divvy out is just $2 million. So that higher amount grant would represent 10% of all of the state monies divvied out. But it's encouraged that every town put in as many grant applications as possible. It doesn't go against the town to put in numerous grants. They're weighed upon their own merits. There have been some years that cities and towns have gotten 3 or 4 grants in any one year. So that is something that I understand is in, oh yes, Bob Berger.
So we put in a grant for $250,000 already. All right, and to put handicap accessible service counters in town hall, which is about 5 more.
Okay.
So we're waiting to see what happens with that. But in the budget that just came out that the governor just signed, there was, I think, $50,000 for a service counter. So that is in the works right now for the assessor's office. So
no
once
kidding.
that's done, we can take that off my list.
Oh, that is super. I didn't know that. One of these things is all of these appropriations, they kind of sneak in, I guess in a good way. I say that in a good way. They sneak in and then it's just one more off the checklist. So that is a single counter for the assessor's office.
It's a service window like we've been putting in the treasurer's office, the planning board, and the building department.
Okay, let me ask you something. $50,000. I always wonder. I'm not in construction. What is that actually buying? Like, is that like a necessary amount? $50,000 seems like a lot of money for a single service window, or is it?
You would think that. You would think that, right?
Yeah.
But the window, the glass alone, that's $8,000 just for the glass.
Wow. Okay.
So, and it's government. So you have to pay prevailing wage on all your projects. That's just the way the government runs. Everything's just so expensive.
Right. All right.
So
I'm just curious.
$50,000 covered the building department.
Okay. Awesome. So with the ADA self-eval, town hall was a big priority as far as the number and types of services and visitors. So I'm psyched to hear about that. And any other announcements, I guess? Anyone have anything else?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll keep on going.
Yeah, go for it.
We took a vote in cable oversight committee for, let's just round it to $70,000. It was voted yes. So we are now in the process of putting a new server in for sign language for what we have here.
Awesome.
For all the public meetings. So we're going forward with that.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
So Bob, you
And
mean,
another announcement I have, and this is a personal announcement, is in September, knock on wood, I'm signing up for a 3-year course so I can learn the sign language. And, you know,
Wow.
it's baby steps. It's just baby steps. Can I do
Wow.
it? I'm hoping.
Wow.
And I'm gonna try my best, but that's just a personal announcement for you guys.
You know, that is awesome.
Don't tell
Bob.
anybody. Don't
No,
tell.
don't tell anyone. Okay, I won't. That's between us. I took American Sign Language at Assumption as in one of my semesters, and I regret not having kept up with it. But at the time, that 19-year-old didn't feel a need. But you know, looking back, I'm psyched, Bob, that you're
Mhm.
proceeding in that direction.
Yeah, and again, it's a 3-year commitment.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, like any language, you know, immersion, it's its own language. It's not English translated.
That's right.
It's its own language.
I
So
know. I know.
yeah, and kudos. So any other announcements?
so Bob, just a quick question. With the new server, are you talking about closed captioning that we can? Okay, good. All right. I wasn't sure if you meant that or cart. So
No, it's
captioning, okay.
closed captioning. My brain's just really not thinking too
No,
good.
no,
today.
totally. Believe me, it's, you know, it's been one of those.
And,
weeks.
and I'm psyched. It's almost like what we have here, but when we rebroadcast, it doesn't work here. It doesn't. So we're making it so it's permanent.
That's fantastic. I mean, 2 of my kids are deaf, so I find that very important. So I'm happy to hear that.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah, and you know it's cool. We're kind of ahead of the game on compared to a lot of other cities and towns. So it's this committee and what we do here and the breadth of the areas we tackle is really cool. So all right, any other announcements? All right, moving on. This is typically an easy one. Number 2, external correspondence. There was none. So I didn't receive any external correspondence. And Accessibility Commission reorganization. Here we are, another year. And one of the interesting things is I think the open meeting law required this to have occurred prior to 7/1. So it was actually not prior to 7/1. It was within 30 days of Springtown meeting. So we should have done this last month. Oopsies. So here we are. So I will entertain a motion for someone to nominate a chair.
Nominate Roger to be Roger. I nominate Roger to be the chair.
All right, motion made by Mr. Berger to nominate me as chair.
I second.
All right, Rob Paulsonelli second. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Discussion is I'm ready, willing, and able to take it on. I think we have some good continuity going here. So all those in favor, Christie,
Aye.
Bob Berger,
Aye.
Laura,
I
Rob,
Aye.
Trahan, aye. All right, congrats, Roger.
thanks, Roger.
All right.
We appreciate it.
You're
Yeah, we do.
welcome. All right, hold on a second. That's probably nothing. All right, and then, all right, so vice chair. That, you know, vice chair, more often than not, if someone needed to step in, it wouldn't be necessarily unless I had some extended illness or something to actually put everything together. It would be just to step in my place after everything was put together, you know, to run a meeting. That's typically, in my opinion, I think vice chair is probably the sort of easiest role of the 3. And I'm seeing 2 people in particular, Rob and Laura. Do I have a motion? And it won't be me. Do I have a motion to nominate? Well, prior to entertaining a motion, either are you interested?
I would be happy to if Rob wants to do it as well. That's fine.
You're up for it, Laura.
All right, then Rob, I'll entertain a motion, Rob.
I was just gonna say, I would be very happy though to make a motion that Laura Deneen be our new vice chair.
I will second.
All right, motion made by Rob, seconded by Christie for Laura Deneen to be vice chair. All those in favor by roll call: Christie,
Aye.
Bob,
I,
Laura,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Roger, I declare the motion carried 5-0. Okay. And finally, clerk. All right.
I'm gonna really have to wrestle someone for this one.
Hey, Rob or Laura, I'll take a motion for.
I say, can we make the motion before Christie backs out?
Yeah, I know, really.
So
I'm typing as I listen to you, so.
I move that Christie Proctor continue in the role of clerk for our commission.
All right, and do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made by Rob, seconded by Laura. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor: Christie,
Aye.
Bob Berger,
I,
Laura Deneen,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Roger, I declare the motion carried 5-0. All right, yeah, we got a good team going, so why mess with a good thing? And so, all right, next on the agenda.
oh, wait a minute, before we end this reorganization.
Yes,
So I've been on several committees.
Yep.
And really my philosophy on committees
Mhm.
is you really should rotate.
I agree. I agree
Okay.
with you.
So
I agree with you.
I just want to say my spiel. I never, because I'm only appointed through the select board.
Right,
So, and I don't want to be the chair, so that's not why I'm
Right.
saying this.
right.
But I've been on the Cable Oversight Committee for 15 years.
Yep.
And we had one person there that has always been the chair. And I
Right.
got on, I made this spiel or this speech, and now we're rotating. So
Yep.
I really think that next year, because
Or
it's
so- or
always a
sooner,
great
or sooner.
opportunity for somebody to get out of this comfortable role and get
Right.
in the hot seat.
Right.
So, and Roger, you're the hot seat.
I'm a
okay.
hot.
And well, but the chair's the hot seat.
Yeah.
So, and then they can learn what it is to run the committee.
Right.
I'm just saying it. We don't have to do it next year. I don't even know if I'm going to be appointed next year, but I just wanted to put it out there that that's my philosophy.
No, and I actually agree with you. And I think one of the things, and it occurred back in September of 2019, when I had come before the select board to reconstitute the commission, is that very first meeting, no one really wanted to be chair. And that is something that kind of continued. So yeah, we've gotten comfy. And Bob, to your point, I agree with you. I would say that a commission or committee board can reorganize as frequently as they like. So
Mhm.
I would like to see who that additional member is, who is eventually appointed. It's probably highly unlikely that that person would vault into chair immediately upon appointment, but the other members, the whole rotation could occur, let's say in 3 months, let's say, whatever. It doesn't have to be the whole year set in stone. Committees can reorganize as frequently as they'd like. So I would have otherwise swapped out and taken clerk and had someone else, maybe Christie, do chair. But honestly, I was not keen on being the one to take minutes. I don't know what it is.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
And I've been on various committees where I was the clerk, and actually this one, when it first started in 2009, it was just like, and it just wasn't something I was willing to do at the time, because if I was, I could conceivably see simply Christie and I swapping roles.
Yeah.
It was just that I wasn't too keen on her role. So,
And Bob, I've been vice chair before, so I've had a few other roles, and I will tell you that I do so much chairing in my other position. I am
Right.
happy to drive the computer monitor. I really am. It's
Right.
just so nice not to have to be.
I agree. No, I agree. I'm
Right.
comfortable with what I'm doing for the Grafton oversight, which
right.
I'm gonna probably be giving that up and I won't be the treasurer. Somebody
Right.
else came up and said, I'd like to try that.
Right.
Great.
What happens, Bob, and this is a catch-22. What happens, and all right, so let's say an executive committee like school committee or select board, for instance, those people have run for office. They are used to the hot seat.
Yep.
So it has been no issue at all. Usually they do it in that 3-year rotation where everyone is ready, willing, and able to do that. What happens when people are willing to be a participant, but is it a condition of being on a committee that you must eventually be willing to be chair? I don't know. What happens whenever no one steps up, or in a particular cycle or a personal circumstance, they're not ready to be chair? Because in a heartbeat, I'd be willing to give up this seat to any willing person who's able to do it. And anyone here, in my opinion, is. So just a thought, Laura and Rob, as far as, something to think about a few months down the road, that we don't necessarily have to wait till the next fiscal year to
No,
reorganize.
I think you're stuck for a year.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
I think so.
You're stuck for the year. And then if I'm on this committee next year, I'm gonna nominate somebody.
Anybody
Yeah.
else?
Not you.
So the good thing is that, speaking of a contingency plan, Roger, if something were to happen with you, I'm sure every one of us could rotate through and take a
Right.
turn 1 month. And we could hold this up together for several months
Yeah.
if something were to happen, because I know everybody's here is competent. I think the only
Right.
person who would be hesitant isn't here tonight, but I'm sure she could do it.
Right.
We
And-
would coach her through, so.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that I think one of my philosophies, and I feel strongly about it, is having a meeting packet. I think we're the only committee in town that does not have paid staff that puts a meeting packet together. Every other committee that has a meeting packet, it's being put together by paid staff, both the agenda and the meeting packet. And so that's an important piece. And not everyone has you'd have to re-up your Adobe to combine documents and sort documents, as I've done. I swapped those around and put some separated pages, as you'll see. And so I think that's been an important piece. I think a lot of committees that don't have paid staff aren't doing that. And I think it leaves the public kind of wondering, well, what's behind this agenda item? So that's all. All right, thank you. All right, going on to item number 4, parks, fields, trails, including plans for 95 North Street. Welcome our Recreation Department Director, Jen Anderson. Hello, Jen. You finished eating?
No, it just came off the grill. I didn't time it right.
No, I can come back. I can come back to you because we have some minutes. We have
That's
minutes
okay. That's okay.
No, we have minutes to approve, so you can do what you need to do.
No. I'll keep it warm. No,
All right,
don't worry.
cool. So the thing is too, is that I kind of I put a bunch of things on here. But I think just at a high level, if you could just touch upon some of the things that may need to be worked on regarding the various parks. And I don't know whether you want to start north to south, whether you want to start with airport and work your way southward, but it's up to you.
Oh, well, I haven't looked at the overall lists for our parks in quite some time, but some of
Okay.
the major things that were still left, we have addressed,
Okay,
which mainly includes Ferry Street Park.
yes,
And so that was getting access to the restrooms there,
right.
and the basketball.
I like
court.
that. I was there. I've been to my son's friends' Little League games, and I was pleased to see the accessibility work to the restrooms and such that's been done there. So
Yeah, so that was definitely the largest piece that we still had left. And so the restrooms, the basketball court, which there's still a gap there. We need a couple more feet.
Right.
That batting cage and that field, the McNamara Field, to both the dugout and the field.
Yeah,
so
so,
that was
so
the
you can
big-
get into the dugout. I saw that that was paved over from the left. But so once you get in the dugout, then to exit from the opposite side, that is a step down.
Well, I think one side of the batting cage is maybe, I don't know if it's like a warm-up area or something, but the
Right.
transition plan addressed the fact of getting into like the concession stand, the dugout and the field. So you see that kind of split ramp there.
Right.
And there's a retaining wall because of the difference in height.
Sure.
And so there's that, there's, you know, that
The,
area.
annou-
to
the
go there.
announcement booth too. The announcement booth is the second floor altogether.
Say it again.
The booth, the announcer's booth. It's a set of stairs that comes out the right side
There
of the
is, so
building.
that's really the only thing that we haven't addressed in the plan, and it's gonna be tough to address.
Right.
I think they put like a $75,000 you know, mark on that.
Sure.
And so out of all the things, you know, I think we've done, you know, probably 95% of the list
Right.
at this point, but still need to address some of the matting issues, you know,
Yeah.
in the walkways in some of the parks. So we replaced the section at Ferry, like I said, with those mats. We're
Okay.
working with a vendor to help us kind of either reinstall or slowly, you know, come up with address it another way in some of the other parks. So like you said, that little strip from Riverview, from
Yeah.
the parking spots to the
Sure.
field,
Yep.
Norcross Park, from like the seating area to the batting cage.
Right.
And so, and those are two major things. And then that ferry from like the concession stand to the dugout of that other field,
Yeah.
the Epicure field.
Yes.
So we're definitely aware of that.
Does
as
that,
well
does that
as-
get dug up? Does that get dug up, Jen? Like it's completely been reclaimed by grass. We found out soon enough the grass doesn't grow in blades. It comes up and completely consumes an area that if you didn't know, you wouldn't even know that the mats had been laid down. It's completely grassed over. So would the company possibly be then removing them? They're technically underground now.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, the intent of what their product is, right? But since we got the advisory opinion from the AAB of what they're looking for, I've reached
Sure.
out to the person selling that product to say, you know, listen, with what AAB wants, it's really not, there's really not the ability to be compliant.
Right.
So can you help us, you know, remediate that?
Well, here's the
And so
thing,
the idea-
it's number one, it's invisible, and number two, it has been so completely reclaimed that it is not even remotely above ground. It is literally underground now. And so the surface of that grass is no different than the grassy areas around it.
Right, so a lot of people want that, and that's how so he goes about doing that. Since his advisory opinion, and so he's learned a lot, you know, the consultant who recommended the product
Right.
has learned a lot. And so like I said, I've asked him to help us remediate with the fact that we can rip it up.
Right.
I'll purchase the fabric or stone or whatever to prevent it from the regrowth, but will he provide the labor, you know, some sort of
Right.
financial whatever to help us come to terms with it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we still owe the original contractor for the whole project some money that we held back for some other things, like the Riverview handicap parking
Sure.
spaces need a curb cut
Okay.
to access the path. The Silver Lake parking spaces are obviously a little bit funky. And how he can help us, you know,
Okay.
address some of the things that we've now learned that are really going to be hard to be compliant with the state's advisory opinion.
Is it possible that some of the stuff will be addressed before snowfall?
I do not know, because everything
Okay.
is, like we all
Oh.
know, taking a very long time.
Well, and here's the thing. I was thinking, absent saying we've been snookered, um, I'm surprised that this particular vendor had not run into this before, because it took just a year for that stuff. We know, and I found out, and I recall from my own yard, that if you leave grass to grow, grass doesn't grow in individual blades and then you can mow it. You'd never get the mower blade that low. There probably would have been having to put some sort of chemical or some type of something underneath that to prevent the grass from growing up in the first place. I don't think there's any way you could allow some grass to grow and then stay at that level and still have the public know that there's even a path there. It's
Yeah, so I mean, I think he's used to more temporary setups, like if
yeah,
a golf event came into town, or,
yeah,
you know, he's saying access to Gaga pits or
right.
more things. So I think we're really the first in the setup that
Okay.
we're doing, and he really felt excited that we were paving the way, I guess, kind of, no pun intended, to extent
Right.
that, but, you know, and now that it got to the state with this advisory opinion and learning what we need to do to be compliant,
Right.
like I said, I think it was a big learning curve for him,
Right.
because we were led to believe, you know, certain things, and so that's why I'm working with him and saying, you know, and now it's not,
Right.
now it's not right. So,
Right.
um,
Okay.
but yeah, so we still have a little bit of funding left from the original money we tried to earmark to address a lot of the things in our parks for the year in 2020 when we closed the beach, and we took that beach payroll, and you know, it was about $150,000, and to address you know, the 88 issues in our parks. So I
Right.
mean, we've done a ton of work. There's a couple of things that we still need to recorrect, right?
Right.
And there's very few things that are still left on the table. It's still like the batting cage at Norcross Park,
Right.
or like the attendant booth at Silver Lake
Sure.
for employees there, you know, but not necessarily, you know, that's not necessarily like public, you know, either. But yeah.
Well,
so
listen,
we've-
well, yeah, as far as ADA, but as an employee, yeah, someone would need
Yeah.
access as an employee, but
Yeah,
let me
so
ask you,
there's-
Jen,
there's
Oh.
a few things like that still left, but
I like the way Silver Lake looked, the new matting. The old matting, I think, was the rubber matting, correct?
well,
Before-
that was a misstep with the contractor too. So that
Oh, right.
rubber matting, they initially laid from like that asphalt walkway to
Sure.
the pavilion, and that was wrong.
Right.
And so, yeah, that beach matting that people typically use is there. I don't think the first year it was stored correctly, so you can see there's a lot of creases in it.
Right.
So we had an extra piece from the initial purchase, and I purchased another piece to replace all of that. And we've been kind of waiting on DPW to try to blade it back to get it a little more level,
Right.
and you know, get rid of the roughness, you know, traverse across it. So
Yeah.
that's maybe tentatively happening on Monday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. A friend of mine had texted me about a friend of hers needing to come into town and know how accessible that beach was. So out of curiosity, I drove down there, and I know exactly the sort of undulating terrain that it isn't entirely flat. What I was pleased about.
No, it's rough.
Yeah, but the good thing is that from the diagonal from the end of that or nearest the picnic table down to the waterway, that's completely flat. That thing is
Right.
completely intact.
Right.
And maybe it's more dirt than sand, and maybe that's why it's staying in place. But I don't think the matting initially went to the waterway, and now it does. So that's a huge improvement.
Yes, that was one of the things in the plan that, you know, needed to readdress. And so like we had a certain section up to the beach, but it was getting to the rest of the amenities. So
What about the surfacing underneath that pavilion area? because right now that's on the sand, so there's really not an accessible route to that shaded area, that pavilion. Is there a
Well,
plan
the
for that?
plan stated we needed to have an 80-day table under that area as well as on the beach.
Right.
And that path reaches that ADA table.
Okay,
And so I felt that's how we were
okay.
meeting that.
In the money doesn't grow on trees line, I would like to see the town, all of us together, get behind finding a way to take it one step further and have that pavilion be maybe on a, even if it's on a concrete surface, something that's more permanent. You know, that area, there's a lot of people that use it instead of going further down and having just a single table. That's sort of like the main pavilion area near the snack stand. So I'd like to see that as a proactive goal in the reasonably near future, as it's become a popular destination. So,
Okay.
So I'm excited though that, what is it, Monday you said that the DPW should be hopefully regrading that?
That's what says, yeah, pencil it in.
Awesome. So is the lake closed that day?
Yeah, we're closed on Mondays.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
All right.
yep.
So I guess let's talk about 95 North Street, the Engvall property. And you'll see that I put the June, I think 16th, meeting number 2 PowerPoint presentation in our meeting packet as a discussion point. I'm pretty sure that there's more updates since then. So Jen, if you could talk about, in general, without going through all of that whole project, about some of the accessibility features that we could talk about tonight, even if we don't vote on any recommendations, while also touching upon the parameters of what exactly is passive recreation. What are the limitations based on the bequeathed land and what it can and can't be used for?
Sure. So their goals really were not active recreation, right? Not playgrounds, not athletic fields of the like. So trails, camping, hiking. I had asked if they would be open to picnicking areas, and they are. And so, we went through the process of getting CPC funds to design the park, and we've gone through that process and had 2 community input meetings and ran an online survey that was very well responded to, and confirmed that we're in line of what people are looking for. We know we're in line with what the open space and recreation plan is for, but the public also seems to be, again, in line with what we're doing. So the response was that they're looking for a larger parking lot, which does involve a little bit more money because we need to create a culvert and replicate wetlands to get over that area where we can develop more parking. But we would have an accessible loop in that immediate from the parking lot. And we're finalizing, like you saw, if you looked at the presentation, those were the 2 kind of themes and designs that were presented with people. And we're basically merging the concept right now, or we have merged the concept, and just deciding on, funding between CPC and other avenues of what we would like to put in front of the town. But no matter what, that accessible loop is going to be part of the project.
Okay.
And so the shade structure is still up for a little bit of a debate, but there'll be benches along that route, different areas that people can sit at, relax, and enjoy.
So let me ask you this. I saw that the first, I kind of chuckled at how few parking spaces. One plan had 3.
Right.
And one plan had 9 or 10. And I thought, if this thing is going to come before town meeting for funding and be advertised as an additional area for passive recreation, it's certainly going to get more more than foot traffic or bicycles. So I guess two things. Will there be an area, so there's a parking lot, you're talking about a certain number of spaces, will there be area for to lock up your bikes? And will this probably won't include a bike path? Is that considered active recreation?
I mean, I'm sure it's kind of like, Airport Park. I mean, that's to create accessibility, but it's kind of turned into a, multi-use walking track, bike riding, little kid loop.
Right,
So, no, they just didn't want to see, the family just didn't want to see athletic fields
right,
and playgrounds and that sort of thing. So
sure.
people are going to use the trail, however they're going to use the trail. There are a plan for bike racks, so people can access it that way.
Okay,
Yeah, so the feedback was that people wanted that larger parking area, right? And
Okay.
so there'd be, I can't remember, it's just a van space in the larger lot, or if it's a, handicap space plus a van space. I've got to pull that up, but
well,
because
ADA
people can't
talks
really-
one for the first 15, right, Bob? One for the first 15, it has to be van accessible.
Yes.
yeah, so if you're only going to have one, yeah, we would definitely have at least a van accessible. That's the minimum, but I can't remember if there was going to be a, 2 spaces with that.
I know Audubon had, I don't know if it's in working order, Mass Audubon on Massasoit Road in Worcester about interpretive trails, being able to also log onto your iPhone and be walked along this whole area.
Yeah, we've had some conversations. It's definitely on my radar. A woman from the AAB actually came out probably a year ago now to look at Airport Park, and she was blind, and so learning about, I saw this all persons in Westboro, and I see this when in Audubon, and she felt really that whatever they were doing was serving no purpose, which I thought was interesting. So
Okay,
I definitely was gonna try to inquire, more about what else we can do. Because I think they had a rope along the trail so people could feel it, right, to find their way.
sure.
Or if there was, different signage that they could scan and hear, or so that level isn't quite there yet. It was to meet the idea of being able to, right, physically get around right now
Sure,
of the loop, but that next level of being inclusive. Yeah.
right. And so we're talking about what, about a quarter to a third of a mile of linear feet? Is it depending on the merged document? What is it about? The quarter mile, third of a mile of linear
Right.
feet? Okay.
Yep.
Right. And is that looked upon, is that something that where concrete will be laid down, or is it some hard surface? What is the plan for the surface?
It's a stabilized stone dust.
Okay. And now over time, is that hold up? Do we know what I'm a visual person, and I think moving forward, I would not that I would travel far and wide to go to different parks, but it would be kind of neat, at least in my own experience, to actually know of named parks that have used these techniques and how they've held up over time. And number two, whether these two are landscape architects can give us a list of parks that they've done, so we can actually see what the look and feel of them. Because conceptually,
I'm sure they
it's-
can. And I did inquire about that because I've seen some other services as well.
Mhm.
And it's not for maintenance wise, it's not necessarily bringing in more material. It's kind of bringing in more of the sealant
Okay,
to keep it in place.
okay,
And so, that is the least pervious service type idea in maintenance, maintenance abled idea and best cost idea. But I'm happy to share with you, yes, other locations.
all right, thank you. And is that, I have never been up to that land. Is it is the entire, it looked like, and from what I've heard people talk, that this entire loop has a cross and running slope that's compliant, correct? I mean, it's a pretty flat piece of land, right?
Yes, yes, it
Okay.
is.
All
Mhm.
right, awesome. Yeah, that's a plus to be having that be the starting point. So, what is the estimated time if this goes through? Number one, what would be the appropriation that would be voted on at town meeting? Is it fall town meeting?
Yes,
fall.
that's what we're aiming for. Mhm.
How much
So we
money?
put a placeholder to CPC right now, the application. We're looking to finalize the financials for next week for their meeting,
Mhm.
which they'd vote on in August, whether it would be going to town meeting. So we're still working on that number.
Okay. So I'm wondering if we couldn't maybe include some sort of request as part of the MOD grant.
Oh.
The
Mhm.
and ask for the farm, ask for the entire 250 or whatever it is, and see, because right now what's neat is that because this is in process, they're looking for RFPs to be in place ahead of time, so that I think the Mass Office on Disability, in really trying to be wise about how these things are awarded, knows that they're dealing with real figures. And so I think we're far enough in this process where we may be able to throw some real numbers at them, that what can be achieved within the request. So
Yeah, so with it, making sure that, CPC backed it, was going to town meeting. I knew the August, September timeframe and when that grant was due was probably
Sure.
going to be a little, right? So yeah, there's 3 grant opportunities for us with this project, with
Oh,
that
good.
being one of them. And we know the timeframe on that for next year. So
what are the other 2 grant opportunities?
it's the park grant. It's the Parkland acquisition something.
Okay.
And that's for up to $100,000 for small towns like us. And then there's a land and water conservation fund grant, and that's up to $750,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I know you're going to have some sort of there's wetlands to traverse, and I've seen the wooden walkways above those areas in the design.
Right.
So as far as the park grant, I know that I think it was 2 years ago, Jen, we sort of gave you a blank check as a commission to apply broadly for any park grants that you would have the support of this commission. If you need a more updated letter regarding the park grants, you should have one on file that includes that language. But I think it encompasses another outdated project in that letter. So let us know whether you need a separate letter or endorsement for any of these grants.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, cool. And then the other thing, and I may say this in jest, and maybe it was just something that these landscape architects put together from file photos and things like that. But the pavilion picture that is in our meeting packet is probably the least accessible looking thing on the planet. Okay.
Yeah, they admitted, they were like, we just couldn't, this is like over the whatever that we want to do and not anything, but just to give you that idea of,
Right.
the rustic look of the idea
Right.
of it.
Yeah, and my idea of something pavilion is more in the lines of Mill Villages or Lions Club, something more
Right.
open.
Oh, yeah.
But
No, that's what it'll be.
yeah. All right. Thank you. Awesome. So let us know where we can step in and, regarding endorsements and things like that, grant opportunities and such, and just keep us in the loop regarding any of these updates. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any questions for Jen or any comments?
No, thank you, Jen. I appreciate all the information and the hard work.
All right. All right. Thanks. All right. Jen has been very proactive on the accessibility front. Agenda item 5.
Thanks all.
Right, thank you. Yeah, I'll tell you, as an aside, I find it quite daunting to sometimes see the sort of universal design ideas that are put forth by USDA or Audubon regarding accessible parks, fields, and spaces. They're like 150 to 200 pages of whack. And so it's sometimes more than I can wrap my head around. And so it's nice to have someone like Jen, on this on a day-to-day basis. All right, so 6/16 of 22 draft minutes.
So
Right.
Roger, I'll share my screen real quick and pull up the minutes.
All right, sure.
Oh, great. Okay.
Oh, did I do screen sharing?
No, already done.
All right, awesome.
Okay.
All right, I'll first, I'll make it as part of the discussion. So I'll first entertain a motion to approve the June 16th minutes as drafted.
So moved.
All right,
Second,
all right. Motion made by Rob, seconded by Bob. I have some recommendations, but I will open up the floor to comments and recommended changes. All right, so anyone have any comments? All right. I do, and it's actually very small. There's 2 areas. So at the outset, I think it's throughout the document, we see people's initials, and none of them are the same, which is cool. What I'd like to see is on the first block, we know who the fully spelled name, like from a historic standpoint, absent reading the document and knowing that people are names are spelled out. If you could, and everyone's in agreement, spell out everyone's name first. I mean, you can keep those. Expand it so that you put Laura Deneen and then in parentheses, you could put LD. So don't erase the initials on that first block, but start them out with everyone's name so that later on when we take the votes, everyone knows who CD is or RB. You know what I'm saying?
I do, Roger. I don't know if I'm muted or not. Let me see.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not. Okay. If you're going to use initials more, my initials are RSB.
Okay. Okay.
Just that's how I sign everything is RSB.
All right. So then in the other places is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's about a half a dozen votes that would need to be changed later on to reflect RSB.
That's me.
So let me ask you this, not that maybe this is duplicative, but we all know that Robert, the nickname is Bob, and that's one and the same. We don't need to put B, it's RSB. We're referring to as Bob Burger in the minutes. Are you okay with that versus Robert Burger or Rob?
Yeah, I go by, it all depends on who I'm talking to.
Oh, okay.
You guys can call me Bob. Other people
Okay.
call me Robert.
Okay. So it's okay with you, Bob, for us to refer to you as Bob within the minutes, as long as then any lettering or initials are RSB.
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. And so you'll make the RSB change on those, Christie, throughout the document.
And Roger, do you want to be junior throughout the document after the first time?
No. RT is Roger Tran. I sometimes joke around that, oh yeah, maybe people will confuse me with my dad, but that's a joke because no one could. He's 90. Do I look 90? But he's actually 89. He'd kill me if I said he was 90. He's not there yet. But no, I'm RT. When I sign my name to documents, I put the junior.
Okay, in the other area, please.
Oh, so, yeah, I noticed that, there's just a grammatical correction that needs to be made. Under number 5, under the updates, it's Leah Cameron, Leah, not Liam. So 3rd line down under updates, Leah,
Thank you.
Leah. And that is really all that I have on that. So, so do I have any other discussion or amendments, changes, comments? All right, so hearing none, all those in favor of the minutes with the amendments as we discussed, Christy Proctor,
Hi.
Bob Berger,
Hi.
Laura Deneen.
Laura, do you need to abstain?
Okay, and, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were abstaining. All right, Rob Paulsonelli
Aye.
and Roger Trahan, I declare the motion carried 4 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. Okay. Okay, moving forward, next item on the agenda. Hold on a second. Okay. Agenda items. Oh boy. So 6A, polling locations and voting. Mr. Berger, I know that you had to leave for ZBA last month, so I forgot to take it out of order about we were going to discuss with our town clerk, Candela Valley, about the Millbury Street entrance and such polling
did.
place.
I
All
did.
right.
I did. And when we have another election, I'm going to make sure that the signs are up.
Right.
But it's still not the same. It's the route you have to take a left to go around.
Right.
So, nobody's going in the front door anymore because the school department doesn't want us going in the front door.
Right.
So
Okay.
we're forcing people that need the door to take a different route than everybody else.
Right. Right.
Which I don't agree with, but
No.
it's what we're dealing with. So at least I'm going to make sure that we get the signs up and make sure that it's got a clear path.
Mhm.
And that's the best I can do.
Right.
Other than, somebody making a complaint to the select board or a town administrator.
So let me ask you this, why can't we just force everyone to go to that route and back? I mean,
That would, I don't think I'm going to have the jurisdiction on that.
okay,
I think that we just have the jurisdiction is there an accessible route?
right,
And there is an accessible route. You just have to go in the back.
right. And the thing is, but it brings up a separate but equal situation. And so I think it needs to be pointed out to her that it's not the best case scenario that we're creating this sort of like,
You wouldn't ask someone who's a different color than
yeah,
to go in the back.
Jane Pittman, the Diary of Miss Jane Pittman, you have to use the back entrance. But so I would recommend, all right, so who has the jurisdiction? I mean, it's a school building, but does the town administrator and select board have jurisdiction, or the school committee? Or technically the clerk is simply using the space that is under the jurisdiction of whom? That's the question. I do not like the idea that there's an able-bodied and an unable-bodied or mobility impaired entrance. Yeah, that's, I think it certainly would suffice to allow people the shorter route that are used to it, but I don't like the idea that you have an inaccessible route and an accessible route. I think the accessible route should be the one that everyone uses with, and it may require more signage. So I guess who has jurisdiction over that?
Think, Roger, you should have a conversation with the town administrator and
Okay,
Ian Candy.
okay, all right.
Maybe together, not separately,
Okay,
together.
all right. But that requires my blue marker with
There
a
you go.
really big asterisk. All right.
And you know, another topic of us meeting, so we're gonna have a special town meeting, aren't we?
Oh, about,
I heard that on the select board meeting.
yeah, what, okay, I am
Was
drawing a
that for
blank.
selling a piece of property or buying a piece of property?
It has to do with, is it Affordable Housing Trust? Well, oh, no, wait a minute. Is that bringing 25 Worcester Street back to town meeting to clarify that it's not just over 55?
I don't know, but the question that I have for us as just a fast conversation
Right.
is if we're having another town meeting, do I have enough time to book an interpreter?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
To
You
put the
should.
request in, yes.
Yep, you should.
You do. You have time.
Whether or not we actually get one.
Oh,
Right.
I understand now. Okay, Roger, I need that blue highlight. I want you to throw it over there.
There you go. All right.
So tomorrow, I'm gonna talk to the TA and see what his thoughts are on a date, because I know there's a date out there. I don't know what the date is, and I need to see if I can book two or maybe just one, depending on how fast the meeting is. 'Cause
Right.
if it's over 4 hours or 2 hours, I think I need two.
Okay.
And then I'll report back to the committee on how I made out. Booking, you're right. Booking, Rob, is easy.
Right.
Okay.
If you
No.
can't, I mean, I know quite a few interpreters that typically don't work through the commission. So if we are in a jam, I can reach out to them as well. So let me know.
Yeah, I'm not booking through the commission. I'm booking through an organization that the school uses. Because the commission just didn't work out for me at all.
What organization does the schools use?
Not the
Christy, can you
Learning
help?
Center. It's,
Lear- Learning Center for the Deaf in
no, it
Framingham?
isn't.
It's
that's
not.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's
think it
not
begins with
Rob.
an-
Rob, what's yours?
it
It's not
Bay
that
State?
one either.
Yeah, it's
Is
Bay
it-
State. It's
Oh,
Bay
it is
State.
Bay State?
Yeah,
I
Got
thought
it.
it was Stone Valley. Okay.
because
Let me ask
they all use the same. They all use the same,
The same
pool of
actual people.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that, it's on my list. Let me see what I can do.
Thank you. So let me ask you this, Bob. I don't know when I would, because you're in the town hall every day, as is Evan and Candy. I don't know when I would ever be able to get to town hall.
That's
in a
fine.
rain-
I
in a
understand what
rain-
you're
yeah.
saying. I'm
Could
taking
you-
your blue marker right now.
So you're
Okay.
gonna, can you handle the separate but equal issue that I brought up regarding the polling place?
Yep, and that's only in the Millbury Street that we're having a
Yes.
problem.
Yes, yes. All right, good. I can use my blue marker to erase it. Actually,
I got
no,
it. Okay, so I have 2 items to take care of.
All right. cool.
Just to be sure, that's the only complaint that we're aware of. Do we know for sure that there isn't an accessibility issue anywhere else?
The only reason you know about that complaint is because I go there.
Okay,
And I
Yeah.
noticed that, number one, there was no signage.
right,
Right.
right. But I mean, the other buildings, I've moved around to so many different ones now. I can't remember like where voters are going in and out anymore.
Right.
Or other polling places, do we know off the top, like, are they actually going through doors that are,
The only thing I can suggest is we all pick a polling place
yeah,
to survey, right? And we should
That's a good idea.
survey it that morning, but there's nothing we're gonna really, well, maybe there is something we can do
Well-
that day, is the day you see that there's a problem, they call me, And then I can reach out and try to rectify the situation right there on the spot.
So I'm in precinct 3 and I vote at what is now the middle school, the old high school gymnasium. Okay. And they send us out that side door that's closest to the parking lot.
And that's
Is that-
accessible,
That doesn't
Yeah,
have a
that's
lip
clear
on it,
cut.
right? Okay,
right? That's all accessible. I'm saying, I already
good.
checked it out.
okay, good. And as on a personal note, I think I am going to step up to be an election worker. There's a huge shortage of election workers. And this is pertinent to our discussion because on voting, the Votes Act? There's a sort of gray area that still needs to be addressed. It has to do with, for elections, but not town meetings, that therefore to those with disabilities, family members being able to then bring the sealed ballots, if someone fills out a ballot, seals it, about what are the mechanics of allowing a family member to then bring that and drop it off at the box versus either mailing it or bringing it themselves. So, or someone else mailing it for them. It's my understanding, and this is in the select board meeting packet, maybe 5 pages in from this past week, 2 days ago, where that is sort of like a hanging chad. So I'm not saying, Rob, that it's not important for physical spaces to be accessible, but it seems that the Votes Act is allowing more flexibility for those with a disability to not only vote, but also to have someone assist them to somehow get that ballot to where it needs to be. So I'm following that discussion to see where that that goes, and then we can get that information out there. That if some people, for whatever reason, are not able to physically be there, that they can still vote and maybe even have someone assist them to get the ballot to where it needs to be. But I'm willing to kind of peek around. But let me ask you this, Bob. It would be on a more formal basis. I guess that brings up the topic. Maybe I'm ahead of myself under new business or maybe even old business. We've talked about community access monitoring training. And I think that type of training would probably allow us to be better equipped to more readily recognize deficiencies were we to sort of go there, any one of us on election day to sort of peek around. So anyway. So Bob, you'll get back to us on town meeting and the polling stuff.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And then, all right, moving on to 6B, and I have a separated page and an email from Beth Schreiber, our library director. It still shows Galloway under the address. So I actually popped into the library a couple of weeks back and had a really nice lengthy conversation with Beth regarding the issue that had come up a few months ago regarding 2 adults entering the teen room and then being asked to leave. So in front of you is, and I had asked and Beth obliged, an email on July 5th that summarized our discussion. And to that summary, she included, and I have included here, the library's unaccompanied adults policy, as well as their service to people with disabilities policy. So at a high level, I'll make 2 comments for starters and then open things up. The first one is that it's clear that we all deal with limited resources. So the building is only so big. And for this reason, the number of age groups that they've parsed out isn't perfect and is in some ways overlapping. Okay. Number 2, my takeaway with my conversation with Beth is that they've been acting in good faith to prevent, and I call it the Chuck E. Cheese approach, that you're trying to make sure that adults are not sort of creeping on kids in their kid space, these unaccompanied kids. And so we do recognize that there are folks that, may have certain needs, and they may end up, as this gentleman did, in that space. So Beth had said that they go by age, not ability. And the good takeaway here is that they're reconvening the policy subcommittee. The library trustees are reconvening a policy subcommittee. Does that sound familiar? Maybe a couple of people. And from there, Beth told me that she would like these updates to be brought back in front of, if it takes multiple meetings, to be brought back in front of the full board, so that these discussions are as public as possible, as transparent as possible. So I think that, and I guess my other takeaway was, and Beth put in her email, that she felt that they made a reasonable accommodation, and that they reached out to the parties and to no reply. And that not just this issue, but just it's a good exercise to review your policies. And so I don't know if anyone thinks that we should take it any further tonight, other than to take a wait and see, and maybe even provide input throughout the process as their subcommittee and the library trustees as a whole meet to really go over all of their policies, including this one. So I'll open up the floor.
Well, nobody's going to say anything, so I think you should wait and see. But I also think if it's a public meeting, somebody should be there listening to it.
Okay.
To see, are they heading down the right path? And if they're not, then that's when you raise your hand and say, you know what, I don't think you're heading down the right path.
Okay. All right. And thus far, things.
I agree.
Okay.
It's a wait and see, and let them kind of try to get to a better place with meeting, the meeting, et cetera. And I agree with Bob that someone should be there.
So let me ask you, I know, Christy, that you've been the liaison to the building committee and have a lot more familiarity with the library than we do, as far as from a meeting standpoint. Would you be willing to sit in?
I was just gonna volunteer, because I just see us being there not only as a passive listening, but also maybe we proactively offer and say, we had planned to have someone there, please use them as a resource, and
Right.
just let them know that we'd be happy to consult with them.
Right. And the good thing is too, is that they recognize, and Beth is absolutely not working in a vacuum. She's reached out at state and national level regarding organizations, library organizations, to say, listen, here's our issue. Can you help guide us here? So I think they're absolutely acting in good faith to really find a solution to accommodate all these age groups within a defined space, and these age groups that overlap in many areas. So, all right. So, and then the other thing, Christy, has the, on a side note, has the library building committee, that's not dissolved, has it?
Oh, I don't even know what they're doing. Bob, are you going to any meetings? I don't.
No, I'm not
I'm
going to any
getting
meetings,
anything.
but they don't have a complete CO right now, because the building's still incomplete. So the
Right.
committee has got to stay together, just
Okay.
like when we built the fire station. They
Right.
stayed together for a year after, because things kept on going on in that building.
Right. So let me ask you this, Bob. I know that upstairs, when you come to the top of the stairs on the second floor, there's a notice that remains on the wall regarding saying, listen, we understand that, we're not currently ADA compliant in these various areas. It's being worked on. So is that the only notice that's up there, or what remains Um,
Well, I can't give you the entire list because
Okay.
I'm not on top of it. But
Okay,
there are items, the exit signs don't have the wheelchair symbol on it. That
mhm,
show an accessible route.
okay,
There's a door opener that there's a chair in the way. There's some shelving that has not been installed because it's still on back order.
right, Okay.
And there's some other signage, but I think that most of the bulk items, like the service desk, had to be lowered a quarter of an inch or a half
Okay.
inch. Things like the bulk items are done.
okay. Awesome. And just for you, Christy, if you're including it in the minutes, CO means certificate of occupancy.
Yeah.
So that what we would also know as an occupancy permit, Bob? Okay, awesome. All right,
But we don't have one? I thought we did. I thought we had an interim,
You have a temporary.
temporary, yeah.
You
that's
have,
what
you
I
have a
thought.
temporary.
so what's the sunset provision on that? When does it expire?
They never expire. You
Oh.
could put a month on it, right? But legally they don't expire because there's a condition. The condition is do this. And then, once you give that temporary, you're never going to take it away.
Right,
Because if you take it away, the whole world's going to go upside down, not just for Grafton's library, but for buildings.
right. Okay,
So, you have to think real hard. Are you going to give it temporary? I don't like giving temporaries, but at this case, with the things that are, trying to come from China to here, you can't help it but to give your temporaries out.
we are in a unique business climate that we're
Right
kinda-
now we are.
Our hands are tied regarding supply and demand.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's substantially complete and I think people are happy with this new space. Yeah, we had a discussion about the rug. Some people still make comments on it and have issues, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's a great space in a 180-degree improvement over what was previously there. So, all right, so agenda item 7, new business. Okay, so Matt often had sent this one to me regarding okay, so proposed hybrid meetings mandate, Mass House Bill H 4991 and amendments. For starters, the remote meeting participation was extended from 7/15 of 22 to 3/31 of 23. What this document that's in your meeting packet was it was from the Mass Municipal Association MMA legislative alert, whereby it pertains to an amendment that was placed on the floor to this bill. And it had to do with, and the Mass Municipal Association was against this as they felt it was an unfunded mandate that had to do with forcing those, when people come back to in-person meetings, forcing in-person meetings to also be a hybrid meeting, but hybrid in a way that forced the technology to be there so that everyone in the room, I guess, could hear everything and see everything. And that currently right now exists only in conference room A and G. Bob, am I correct on that? The 2 fully equipped meeting rooms are A, the select board room, and
Just a.
Oh,
And we can use the owl. So you can have a hybrid anywhere,
Okay.
but the technology is not as good with the owl.
okay. So, so it had to do with the fact that most meetings are at night because people work. Most meetings are in the evening. So regardless of this proposed mandate by amendment, right now we're on number one, we're using limited meeting rooms when we do meet in person. Not every committee could meet on the same night and have enough rooms. And number two, even for Zoom, right now we only have, what, about a half a dozen Zoom licenses, Bob? Or so? So
Yes.
not all the committees hypothetically could meet on the same night. So this takes it one step further and says, all right, if you're going to meet in person, right now, everyone has been that's been doing Zoom, most committees are doing only Zoom. What this talks about is if you're going to be meeting in person, that you also need to have remote participation available and full participation with all the retrofitting of the rooms that we see, I guess, in the select board office, the select board meeting room, room A. And so Mass Municipal Association is crying foul that it's an unfunded mandate and there's no way that this could be implemented within the time frame that they're asking for. So, so I guess all video sessions would be required to be live captioned using automated speech recognition or other technology. MMA has requested an extension of remote options for municipalities, while allowing municipalities flexibility in determining the remote options that make sense given the timing and resources available. So, you know, I'm not going to go over all the wording. I put it in the meeting packet, at least as a starting point, to say that to the public, this is what's going on. Look at our meeting packet, read this document. You may weigh in to our legislators, you know, Dave Meridian and Mike Moore, Representative Meridian and Senator Moore, either pro or con. But we will probably be faced with this regarding a recommendation, because I know, and I think Christie, I'll put you on the spot, and I agree with you that from an accessibility standpoint, I recall a number of meetings ago, you were a staunch proponent, and I think you were as well, Laura, about the need for remote participation to continue in some fashion. Okay, so I'll open comments by both of you and the you know, the entire committee about that piece of it.
It's pretty simple. It's an equity issue. There are people in our town who can't traverse, who have mobility issues, or don't have transportation. We also have people who have children at home who can't get a babysitter. So there's a whole host of issues beyond that related to disability that would really be hindered from participating if this were to be in person only.
Right. And so I think Zoom only seems to be the much more accessible feature when we compare it to in-person only. I'm trying to think of the scenario where some people would maybe prefer in person.
I like exactly the way we're doing it right now.
Right.
I mean, this is a convenient way. I have my computer in front of me. I have all the information I need when you ask me a question.
Right.
I'm still not comfortable being in crowds.
Right.
If we were meeting in the meeting room, I would be wearing a mask. The virus has, I don't care what some people say, the virus has not stopped. It's more contagious now than before with this B45, and our vaccines. We're not getting as sick, but it's jumping through.
Right.
So I don't really understand what that memo that you're talking about, because, you know, doesn't it really say, there's a cat right there. I had no idea what that was.
I was wondering what that was.
Sorry. She says hello.
Oh, look at this.
So I thought it was just status quo. I didn't know that we were having a big problem right now.
No, I think that I'm wondering if this. Okay, so Mass Municipal Association. I'm thinking to myself that some of the audience of the various magazines or bulletins are select boards and finance committees. So executive committees such as the select board, finance committees, you know, as they make recommendations to town meeting on budgets and financing, town administrators and such. One of the things is, okay, what is a mandate and how do we fund it? And how is it feasible? Even if all the money in the world existed, is it feasible do we even have enough rooms in town hall that could be retrofitted? Because we have, some nights are busier than others, and we would need to retrofit some various numbers of rooms. Do those rooms even exist? And so I think this is what some of the logistics that they're concerned about, thinking you're asking us not only you're not only telling us to do something which is an unfunded mandate, but you're telling us to do it in a time frame that is impossible. That's what I gleaned from this MMA letter. So it's saying, please call your legislators today, but that audience is certainly not this commission. You know what I mean? And so, so I told Matt, I said, I don't think we're really in a position to take a vote one way or the other on this tonight, but also in this public forum to let the public know, who may be watching us, well, on replay, because I don't see anyone watching live, or on GCTV, that maybe they agree with this memo, or maybe they don't. But to the extent that this memo now exists in our meeting packet, we're letting it be known that it exists, that if people want to weigh in on it, pro, con, or indifferent, that they can do so through their legislators. Okay. But I'm anticipating that at some point, if we may end up butting heads with the state, because I think we're in agreement here that this Zoom format has been working great. I think as you said, Bob, you have all your materials here. You don't have to schlep all your things to town hall. I don't. Setting up the meeting room and all this other stuff, your concerns about COVID, it's not gone away. It's on the rise, if anything. And that I think a lot of the city and town leaders are simply wanting the status quo and have extensions of the Zoom participation. But the amendment is saying, no, we want people to be back in person to some extent, and we want there to be a hybrid option that is basically as good as being in person, so that everyone in each venue, I guess, can see and hear everyone else. And right now, the only room that exists is the select board meeting room. And so this would mandate every city and town to somehow come up with a solution, funding and space, to do these meetings. So, so I don't know, the amendment may die. We may end up being status quo and keeping on the legislature continuing to extend the deadlines. I mean, I'm liking Zoom. I haven't heard any negatives about the Zoom format. Has anyone heard any negatives?
Nope.
No, not at all.
So. Anyway.
And we are, Grafton is updating Conference Room F. So we're planning on putting $250,000 in Conference Room F.
Oh, wow.
Make
Which
it-
one is F?
That's-
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's the school committee room.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And we're making that to act just like Conference Room A,
Oh, okay.
with all the, the monitors facing the audience and other monitors facing the select board table or the presenters table.
All right.
And it's going to be a Zoom room, just like A.
Okay. So we're making some progress. We're probably ahead of the game compared to a lot of other towns regarding their cable capacity. And so it's just that there's for those two rooms, there's probably a whole host of other committees that if this COVID eventually goes away and everyone's forced to meet in person, I think we're gonna be butting heads with the state saying, wait a minute, we like Zoom. And they may say, well, the priority is in person, and Zoom or hybrid, being the way we go moving forward. And I would argue that Zoom alone seems to be working fine. I haven't heard any any objections to it.
It'd be
Unless-
nice. It'd be nice if they would keep it, but they're
Right.
probably not going to keep it. But with all the money that we're spending in these meeting rooms, I think that in the future, we're going to have the board sit in that room because we're going to get forced into it. But the participants can either sit in that room or join by Zoom.
Right, okay. So we don't run into a problem necessarily. Once that meeting room is connected, it's my understanding that as long as the chair has a Zoom, it has a laptop in front of them, they can see what's going on, or they may actually have a big screen in front of them that the audience doesn't see to really conduct that meeting and recognize any remote participants. I guess you would need a laptop to see who may be raising their hand or whatever.
That's right.
All right. So we just,
Did you see the $200 penalty?
no, I didn't read that part. I missed that. What?
Yeah,
Oh.
so 3 violations or more, every one of us could be subject to a $200
Oh, individually?
individually.
I totally missed that.
That was a nice little touch there.
I would set up a GoFundMe. I swear, I would just, oh my word. I totally missed that. I'm usually a nerd in data geek and read everything. 200, huh?
Yeah,
Pay them in Monopoly money. So, all right, so I guess we take a wait and see. I guess no one's asking anyone to, any of us. I mean, I guess I would want a continuation of Zoom. I mean, do you think it's premature to come up with a blurb and ask that we that as a committee we send a letter to Dave Moradian or Mike Moore, or do we want to just take a wait and see?
Wait and see.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's too early.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Oh yeah, there it is, $200, including volunteers. There, good. Yeah, because it would be an open meeting law violation. So, all right. All right, so that's that. We'll yeah, so anyone who wants to weigh in, our legislators are available to weigh, to contact. And next meeting is August 18th. It's Thursday, 2 days before my 56th birthday, just to let the public know how old I'll be. All right. And I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
All right, Christie makes the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Everybody seconded.
Yeah.
Get down as everybody.
Everyone, actually, I heard Laura.
Yeah.
Christie, I heard, Laura beat Bob by like a millisecond. So, all right, by roll call, all those in favor, Christie,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Kath, I'm not Kath, Laura,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Roger, I declare the motion carried. This meeting is adjourned at 8:08 p.m.